The new Saga enchantments from Dominaria are unlike any Magic cards that have come before them. They have a very unique layout that have a lot of people talking. Are they good? Are they bad? Let's figure it out. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, and welcome to my video on the Saga enchantments from Dominaria. So, today there has been a lot of chatter about these sagas. Specifically, the one that I've seen rotating around being spoken about is Phyrexian Scriptures. So what we'll do first is we'll put that up on the screen, we'll talk about that card and we'll go through it here, and then we'll talk about what I think about sagas overall. So, this is an enchantment that costs 2 black and 2 colorless. As you can notice, the art is now located on the right hand side instead of the top. On the left hand side, it has the saga information. How sagas work is when you first put the saga enchantment out, you put a lore counter on it, and then you put the first ability on the stack. Then, each turn, after your draw phase, you add another lore counter to the Saga enchantment and resolve the next ability. So basically, once it gets to 2 lore counters on the second turn, then you resolve the second ability. So with this one, when you put Phyrexian Scriptures out, the first thing you do is do the first ability, which is put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. That creature becomes an artifact in addition to its other types permanently. And then the next turn, after you've drawn, you put a counter on it. At that point, you destroy all non-artifact creatures. Then the turn after that, you draw again. After you've drawn, not drawing from the card, not from the enchantment, just your regular draw step, in case that wasn't clear. I don't want anyone to be confused here. And then you would place the third lore counter on the Phyrexian Scriptures. At that point, you do the third ability, which is exile all cards from your opponent's graveyards. And after that, you sacrifice the Phyrexian Scriptures. So once the sagas have completed, they get sacrificed and go to the graveyard. They don't sit on the board, not doing anything, adding to confusion. So, I have seen a number of comments about these, and the ones that I've seen tend to be mostly negative. I am not in that camp. I actually like this. I know that the initial gut reaction tends to be one that people have regarding change. We're human beings, right? We're animals, and part of survival is finding routines and habits that will keep you alive, going to the same places that are safe, eating the same foods that are safe water supplies, all of that, right? So anything that has an element of change has an element of danger to your safety, and that's why people tend to fear and dislike change. It's more comfortable. You don't have to spend any time thinking about it. This, when you look at it, your brain has to go, wait, is this even a magic card? You look at the cast and cost and go, okay, it's a magic card. But once you move downwards into the actual, anywhere past the top of the card is where it starts to feel very alien, right? Because you have the artwork on the one side, and then on the left-hand side, you have this almost, it looks almost like a variant of like a loyalty creation setup in terms of planeswalkers, right? Now, the reason, there's multiple reasons that I actually find that I like the Saga cards, even though I initially, when I looked at them, I went, ugh, my brain went, ugh, but that was just because it was that whole change is not good reaction, and I recognize that, because after looking at the card again, I started to realize that this is actually a really excellent way to do this, because here's the thing about sagas. They're going to be doing different things each turn. Now, some of them, granted, do the same things for their first and second levels before you get to the third level. But in most cases, you're going to have different things going on. And either way, the enchantment's going to do different things, if not each turn, on other turns. At some point, this enchantment's going to do something differently than it did before. So, having cards that transmit additional... Magic is a very complex game, guys. There's a lot of complexity to it. There's over 20,000 cards. We're probably getting closer to 30,000 unique cards in Magic the Gathering now. So you have to be able to try and maintain an idea of what's going on the board, keep an idea of what you got going on in your head, and how everything can unfold. Visual cues on cards are really helpful. Now, I don't like vehicles in Magic because they brought them in with cars, trains, and things like that. If they just brought them in with boats and other things that felt fantasy-oriented, I wouldn't have had an issue with them. But I will give them credit where credit is due in terms of vehicles, and that is the border they designed. If you take a look at a vehicle's border, it has this sort of like wooden striped banding along the edges. That's what it looks like to me. It looks almost like wood paneling along the edges. Now, this is easy to discern in the same way that you can see a planeswalker is a planeswalker. But with vehicles, it's even more important, because a lot of times artifacts don't turn into creatures, right? But every vehicle is going to turn into a creature, and it's going to happen in the same way, which means if you see the striped banding on the table, your brain goes, that's an artifact that can turn into a creature. If it's on your opponent's side, your brain can go, that can be a creature, don't forget that can be a creature. And if it's on your side, it reminds you, hey, you need creatures to activate this. But either way, the border itself transmits additional information. And you can see Wizards tries hard to make it easier. Like when they did the transform cards, they have that little arrow with the information about the other side of the card pointing to the other side, and there's like little brackets and things. With some of the ways of transmitting information, they succeed better, and in some ways they fail. I feel like Meld was not, the information was not transmitted very effectively, whereas vehicles with the borders, fantastic. Now, this way of doing things for the Sagas, I think is great. It's very useful in terms of specifically identifying that you're dealing with a saga. And so it says, hey, pay attention to me. I'm an enchantment that's going to do different things on different turns, which is not normal for an enchantment. Generally, enchantments, they may have some effect where it's like, build up X counters, then do this one thing. But they don't do different things each turn. In most cases. Now, there are going to be exceptions to every rule, but in most cases, enchantments are a, hey, I do this all the time, or a, hey, I'm a pay X, activate me to do this kind of thing. But these are, each step is going to be something different. And so to transmit that to your brain is going to look and it's going to see the card and go, that's a very distinctive card. I remember that those are the cards that have sequential effects that I need to be aware of. So that information is transmitted instantly. It's impossible to look at a Saga card and not know it's a Saga card. And on top of that, I would like to say that having the artwork on the side in the long box, it gives them additional advantages that they can use, or at least different restrictions that they can use. If you think about recording video, you can record in, what's it called, like Band-Aid mode, where you have that little strip in the middle, or you can rotate your phone and get a wider kind of perspective. And they each have, actually that's probably not even the greatest example, because Band-Aid just kind of trims things out. With this, it's more like the artwork that they have here with this Phyrexian throne, or I believe it looks like it's supposed to be a throne. It would look far different if it was crunched up into the normal magic art. Like, look at the way that they do Planeswalkers, where they extend it out, or like the Eldrazi with the artwork behind the card, like behind the actual rules text and things like that. Being able to capitalize on more art space makes a difference. So in this case, what it does is it allows artists to make, like, I don't know what the term would be, but basically like longer artwork in terms of like height. It's like, okay, something that would get, it's not, this artwork I feel like if it was crunched down wouldn't transmit the same way. They would probably have to crop it in a different way. So I like that it allows for different artistic choices, because these artworks are going to try and capture a saga, and the saga is supposed to be like a big event. And so having cards that represent that this is something different, this is a different kind of enchantment, this is something special. I really like the way they've designed the borders here, honestly. At first, I did have that gut punch reaction, but I've come around. I think that they need to come up with more concepts like this. Not too many, because when every card type has its own specific thing, then it becomes harder to tell them apart. It'll just become like a million things. But for specific, like, you need to know rules, issues, this is going to change each turn, this is an excellent way to indicate that. So my friends, I hope that you found this information of use. If you have a different perspective, by all means, feel free to share it in the comments. Thanks for coming by. See you next time. And before I head out, I want to shout out and say welcome to the newest Golden Lord of Purple, Cinder Shadow. We will see you in the end roll, my friend. And stick around, guys, because later on today, we got a video coming out about a very, very special Jace the Mind Sculptor that I'm guessing you haven't heard about. See you later.
Together we are the sixth color of magic, and I don't care if a bear shits in the woods.